Wow, another week of absolute chaos in crypto, from Dogecoin securing its first ETF to Nasdaq making a bold move into Gemini. PayPal is also stepping deeper into crypto, and Santander is dipping its toes into the cold waters of digital assets. On top of that, we're bringing you a brand new segment where we discuss the most exciting meme and altcoins that we've been keeping an eye out for this week. All of that and more with BlockDesk news today. But before we dive into crypto specific news, let's talk about what's happening tomorrow. The big headline: the Federal Reserve is expected to announce its rate cuts. This is really huge. Interest rates are one of the biggest forces that are shaping not just the global economy, but also the crypto markets themselves. Higher rates tend to suck liquidity out of risk assets like Bitcoin, while lower rates pump money back into the system, fueling speculation and growth. If the Fed cuts rates tomorrow, it could be that spark that reignites bullish momentum across the whole crypto industry. It means cheaper borrowing, more appetite for risk, and more capital following into assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and yes, even meme coins. But I think it's very important to mention one thing, is that a lot of people are at the same time speculating that these rate cuts might be a bear trap. So, as I mentioned on last week's news, that potentially we can see a drop in the market before the market goes bullish. So do be ready when that announcement is made, and don't go fully into into Bitcoin or into Ethereum. So the catch is this: the Fed isn't cutting because everything is great at the moment. Rate cuts are usually a signal concern about growth, jobs, and recession risk. And as you know, the current situation in America isn't ideal. So while markets often pump short term, the underlying message is more complex. And this is why I've been saying this for many months now. These rate cuts everyone is waiting for can potentially not give you the results that we want straight away. So for the industry, this means a potential surge of new money and attention. For retail investors, I would say it's an opportunity, but be cautious and wait for the announcement to be made, and then see where the market takes us, and then find the bottom. Or if the market rallies, then you might as well follow it. Again, it's not it's not financial advice. So let's move on to pretty big news. I would say also is the US just approved the very first Dogecoin ETF. This is really a historic moment, especially for meme tokens and meme coins. Dogecoin itself, it started as a meme, for those of you who don't know, and it's sitting alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum at the moment. It's regulated. The world is changing, and the crypto industry is really changing with this ETF approval. Now, what does this really mean for you and for the industry? And it's basically showing that regulators and institutions are starting to take meme coins very seriously. And that means the demand and the exposure for them is growing, and it's enough to justify a product like this, basically the ETF. But here's the reality check: ETFs aren't always a straight ticket to higher prices. When money flows into ETFs, it often reduces direct liquidity into the open market because people are investing into the ETFs. So that means less buying pressure on exchanges and potentially slower price movement in the short term. So on the flip side, the ETFs create trust and accessibility. And that makes it easier for people and institutions who would never touch crypto wallet. They'll still gain the exposure to the crypto industry and to Dogecoin, and via this ETF. And over the long term, that will create legitimacy and ease access into people actually investing into Dogecoin itself. And I'm sure you've been hearing that while Dogecoin is making headlines, Bitcoin ETF continues to attract massive inflow. Institutions are scooping up Bitcoin itself through these vehicles, and it's also a strong signal to where the market is heading. So there seems to be a let's swing at the moment between Ethereum and Bitcoin ETFs, and obviously now Dogecoin is coming in, and I know they're trying to sign off even more at the moment. So for the industry and institutional adoption, it's increasing and by a large scale. It changes how Bitcoin is viewed, and less like, an experimental asset and more of a mainstream store value. This is becoming clearer and clearer day by day, especially in this bull market, much more than the one before. So for retail investors, there's two things that this could basically mean. There's definitely a growing confidence with institutional and the big players investing into Bitcoin, starting with the ETFs and then, of course, going into Bitcoin itself. And of course, for the retail side, that this will mean that the supplies are going to get much lower, of course, increasing the price. But as I mentioned, this is more of a long-term play. ETFs are a short-term play. Next up is Nasdaq, which is stepping into the crypto spotlight at the moment. They have invested into Gemini IPO. Gemini, for those of you know, is a very massive exchange, and this is a massive move for Nasdaq itself. It isn't just an exchange; it's one of the most iconic names in global finance. Basically, by supporting Gemini, Nasdaq is signaling that crypto is here to stay. And that is the future of finance, is going to blend traditional markets and digital assets together. As we discussed last week, you're seeing that BlackRock is looking into digitalizing or a lot of its assets via RWAs and other means. Now you're seeing Gemini taking a similar direction. So the financial industry is moving into crypto at large scales and at very quick speeds. So for the industry, it's yet another sign of walls coming down, basically, before TradeFi and DeFi. For retail investors, it's about credibility. Exchanges like Gemini being tied to names like Nasdaq helps build confidence, but also opens doors to stricter regulations and compliance demands. Regulations means that the bigger players are going to invest. Of course, it's going to increase the market cap. And then, as you know, this in the stock market, you're playing with, percentages. In crypto at the moment, we're playing with 100x's. This will change, but this does mean we're still early. So everything you invested now, when the market cap rises, you will still be early. And you've been hearing that for many years, but you are still early. That is the funny part of all of this. Now, shifting a little bit into the European news, France is taking steps to establish itself as a leader in crypto regulations, or so they say. While the EU is moving forward with MiCA, France is making its own push to create clearer frameworks. Once again, or so they say. So for the industry, this is how they're sort of playing it. But for the industry, this kind of regulation can bring stability and clarity, which are big players, as you can see. It's a recurring theme. They really like this, and this is what they love to see before fully committing. But for retail investors, there's always a trade-off. And retail investors, I would say, are smaller players, with $1,000 or $100 to invest in. So this means stricter rules, more security and less fraud, but also stricter rules, and there's more regulation. So more ways to control, the small investors, maybe less DEXs, maybe less decentralization, more centralization. So even though the barriers are being dropped, clearly Europe isn't really dropping them for the smaller retail guys and girls, basically. Now, really interesting. PayPal is once again doubling down onto crypto. Many of you remember PayPal tried to get into crypto, then didn't. Now they're trying again. They're expanding their services, making it easier for their massive user base to buy and sell digital assets. This is really huge for mainstream. Of course, PayPal is a big financial product. A lot of people, move money in and out via PayPal. It's much easier in some countries to use that than banking. So if they allow crypto, it's going to be good for the industry. So this means that, crypto is not a speculation, once again, basically. And PayPal taking this on board and expanding its services more into crypto is always a good thing. And talking about banking, even Santander, one of Europe's largest banks, is now dipping into crypto. Banks have been slow to move, as everyone knows, but their involvement is inevitable, and digital assets become more impossible to ignore, especially with the amount the governments want to control people and their citizens, especially in Europe. So for the industry, this is a validation. A player like Santander moving into crypto is no longer, fringed upon. It's on the radar, and most traditional institutions are also looking in the same direction. For retail investors, it's a reminder that banks are moving in very slowly, but carefully and strategically. And they're positioning themselves before the next wave of adoption. So yeah, let's see what happens with the banks. Let's see how they're going to integrate crypto. Is there going to be central bank digital currencies? Is there going to be actual Bitcoin? Are you going to be able to buy Bitcoin? Only time is going to tell. And now let's move into our brand new segment as promised, where we highlight some of the most exciting meme and altcoins on our radar, giving you, fresh projects to research for yourself every week. Now, please know these projects are not sponsored. These are projects we they came up and they've seemed to have raised a lot of money. So do your own research. Well, we're going to bring these to your attention. If you see any of these are bad, just comment down below. If you like any of them, comment down below and let us know. So let's start off with LILPEPE. It's raised around 25.5 million in pre-sale, combining meme culture with a robust blockchain technology. So if we have a look, they look to be building their own chain. So this is pretty interesting. The raise is very large. It is basically an EVM layer 2, as you can see, and they've got a good roadmap. It looks like the launch is pretty soon, so it's 92% full. So have a look at it. I would very much recommend doing your own research on this. This is a high-risk investment, extremely high-risk investment. If we are confident, of course, we will tell you. The second one is LBRETT. So it seems like a lot of projects are using old memes to create layered blockchains. And like now it's pretty easy to deploy your own layer 2. So this is another one which is basically going to be another layer 2 blockchain, which is going to launch. And any really, layer 2 or layer 1 blockchain that's launched, if they have enough developers launching other tokens on that blockchain, it's going to get traction. There's going to be utility for the coin itself. So your investment could do, big X's. So this is why we're mentioning these two for this week. I think it's good to do some research to see that the wallet that's actually raising, have they raised those 25 million for real, or is this fake? Is the percentage of the raise actually increasing, or is it staying the same? Do your own research. We want you to have a look at this yourself and let us know what you think. And then we're more than happy to go into more detail on next week or within our Telegram channels. And the last thing I want to discuss is Pump Fun. The token soared 40% this week. For a market cap project as large as this, 40% is quite a lot. And the reason is there's a lot of new projects basically flooding the platform. And as you're seeing, there's the streamer tokens, which are becoming very huge. I think it's going to be short-lived, these streamer tokens, so be careful. But they're definitely getting the attention of the market. For those of you who don't know, do let us know. We're happy to do a segment about these streamer tokens as well. But that's it for this week about the meme sort of industry and the altcoins. We do have a lot of other ones we want to discuss, but for this week, we'll keep it short and sweet. So let us know if you like this segment, and then we'll discuss more next week. So that wraps it up for this week in BlockDesk news. From Dogecoin ETF to Bitcoin institutional inflow, Nasdaq moving into Gemini, France's regulatory push, and even PayPal and Santander embracing crypto finally. And of course, our meme coins segment has been another week of absolute chaos in the crypto markets. And I hope all of you have enjoyed this week's news. Make sure you like and subscribe and let us know what you think about our delivery. And until next week, stay sharp, stay invested, and we'll see you on the next episode of BlockDesk News. All the best. Bye-bye.